In a world of risk and insurance specifically, you're dealing with a lot of risk. Is risk really the enemy in real estate, or is it poor preparation?
Mm. It's a really good question. And I think you said it well. It's just poor preparation. We the first thing I think about when I think of risk in real estate is we know no risk, no reward, right?
Mm,
So just by going outside, you're going to face some form of risk, and it's impossible to live a life without it. But on from the insurance perspective, you can it is a matter of planning, being prepared in case things go wrong, because at the end of the day, we never know when things go wrong. It could happen to anybody. And
mhm.
so it's about properly preparing yourself in case that does happen.
That's well said. That's well said, especially because you are in the insurance industry. If people haven't guessed already, Dave, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to this All Things REI podcast?
Yes, Tom, thanks for having me on. So my name is Dave Castillo. I'm an insurance broker and brokerage owner, and I specialize in construction insurance, commercial, and life insurance. We also do home and auto at our brokerage. And so I mostly work with developers, real estate investors, helping them make sure they protect what they built, work so hard to build, and um, and keeping them out of trouble if something does happen.
Mm, that's key too, especially in real estate where there's so many ups and downs. There's delays or problems with multifamily buildings or developments these days with red tape. How do you
Yeah.
how do you protect people's wealth? Like what are some actionable steps? Or maybe you can even backtrack it. Maybe as a let's say a beginner, they're looking for insurance. Maybe let's start there. With need to get insurance, what should they be looking for if they were to come to you? What things do they need to consider that they might not normally with a classic life insurance or home insurance?
Absolutely. So, okay, so when I usually talk about where to start, when I'm usually doing like a talk or I'm in front of a room, my favorite thing to do is to gauge the audience and ask them, where's everybody at? Where's everybody at? Are we looking to buy our first single family rental property? Are we 10 units in? Are we developing our own properties now? Like what is everyone doing in the room? And so that my answer to that depends on who I'm talking to. If we're talking to, and maybe you can give me an idea, what is
Let
your, who's listening? Like, what is your base like?
I think there's a variety of people, but let's start maybe from the like maybe we go one example of a beginner, and then we can also say, okay, you're going on to 10 properties or starting to think of I want to build my first sixplex because everyone else is doing it. Like, how about we go to start with the beginner and then we go up?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, when you're a beginner, the thing you're usually starting off with is residential insurance, whether that's your own personal residence or it's a single family rental, all the way up to a triplex or a fourplex. And you really it's pretty straightforward. It's you want to make sure you're protecting the building itself. And I think what happens a lot of times is people think of insurance and they don't really know what it is they're actually protecting and what they're actually getting charged for.
Hmm.
You're getting charged
There are a
that
lot of
something,
fees, yeah, or there
yeah,
can be.
exactly. And there's a lot of different coverages, but what I usually come from, and people that are getting into the development space really start to learn this, is that what we're doing is we're getting insurance in place so that if you were to lose the property, how much is it going to cost us to rebuild it for you?
Hmm.
And then obviously everything in between, you might have a sewer backup claim that costs you $50,000 to remove the sewage, cut out the drywall, replace the floors. Um, so you might have like a claim like that of that size, but also, if you have a fire and your whole property goes, how much is it going to cost us to rebuild that for you, right?
Right.
So when you're thinking about a single family home, you want to look at what is what is what would happen if I were to lose the property if it's a fire? If you got tenants, what are you protecting against in terms of a lawsuit? What are some
Mhm.
things that you might need to consider if there's a slip and fall, or maybe there's a railing that hasn't been installed. If your tenant tells you, "Hey, I need this railing installed," and you're kind of slow to it, they fall, and there's a lawsuit. There's a lot of different factors here. These are some things that you might want to consider and might want to think about protecting yourself from. Um, and at the end of the day, these are your assets. We work so hard to acquire these assets, especially at the beginning. These are your life savings that you're putting into these real estate pieces of real
Hmm.
estate. Um, it would be devastating for you to have a fire and not have the proper insurance coverage in place and be out hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you have a mortgage that you might owe on the property, and you might have to pay for a big chunk of that out of pocket, and knowing how much knowing the proper insurance coverage to put in place really protects you from that.
Hmm. What should be some things maybe like a beginner investor should avoid? Or
Mm.
maybe I think maybe number one personally is, hey, go to a broker and they can guide you, especially since you're real estate investing focused. But maybe what's some key things to kind of look out for, if that makes
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I would say to any beginner is, and I'll, this might not be the best for me as a broker, but I only care about providing value and being honest and upfront. And I don't know if you're familiar with Ron Butler.
I've heard the name, but I
Yes.
can't put two and two together.
I would recommend taking a look because he's very funny.
Ron Butler.
Um,
Okay.
he's a mortgage broker, and so
Gotcha.
like what he loves to do is just talk. He likes to talk shit about the Canadian economy and the real estate market, right? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of his niche, but I find it entertaining. But he's well established in the industry. He's probably been around for 30, 40 years. And so when you've been around for that long, you build a client base. And so he's probably done well financially, right? He doesn't need to worry
Hmm.
about it. But one of the things I noticed he's done before was he talked about how if you're got a single family rental property, go to a broker, get some pricings on interest rates or whatever on the mortgage, and then take that to your bank and say, hey, can you do something better for me?
Mm.
So one thing that I would say for any beginner investor is that um, a lot of times a direct writer can give you some good can give you some good deals. I suggest go to a broker so they could shop out the market, and then also don't be afraid to go to a direct writer and say, hey, can you put a deal together for me? Like this is what I got from a broker. What can you do for me? I
Mm.
think that that's something that's really good. And plus, you're going to get advice from both sides because there really is a difference between a broker and an agent, similar to mortgage. You got a
Mm.
mortgage broker, and then you got your big banks, which are mortgage agents,
Yeah,
right?
directly only for that company.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's good to get an idea from both ends. Um, there's a couple things to take in consideration. Like I'll give you this one nugget here because I see this a lot and people don't really understand the difference. Um, we're talking about rebuilding your home if something happens. So
Hmm.
let's say the worst of the worst, a fire takes place. We now need to build you a new property.
Mm.
There's ways that those calculations are evaluated, and
Right.
so there's two separate ways, and it's called there's a replacement cost,
Hmm.
there's actual cash value. And the main difference between both is that actual cash value takes depreciation into account. And so yeah, sometimes you might be saving premium dollars because the policy you have in place is taking on actual cash value replacement. So that if
Mm.
something happens, let's say that you have 500 your property is a single family rental property. In order for us to rebuild it, it's going to cost us $500,000. But you're on an actual cash value. You're going to pay less in premiums, but when that day comes, if that day does come, and we got to rebuild your home, we're not
Hmm.
the insurance company's not going to give you 500,000. They're going
Hmm.
to say, "Well, this property was built in 1950, and when you did your appraisal, it said that it had another 100 years of economic
Ooh,
life left,
yeah. Yeah.
and so now we're going to give you $350,000 instead of the 500 because that's what this property is worth now."
Mm.
And so what I caution people to do is sometimes they'll save $300 a year in order to get actual cash value. And so what I always say is don't be so high strung on saving an extra $10 a month because it can bite you on the back end by costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you're pinching pennies for basically like the $10 bill right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it in the long run.
Mm.
And I get it because like nobody expects to use insurance. Nobody expects to lose their properties in a
Yeah.
fire. And we don't want to. And the best case scenario is to pay for insurance premiums your whole life and never go through a claim.
Hmm.
But this is the reality of life is that we can't really pick and choose like that, right? Things
Yeah.
happen.
Flukes, natural disasters, bad tenants, a lot of things happen, and then crap, then here you are. I
Yeah.
wonder too, maybe sometimes they're pinching pennies because they're trying to underwrite a deal, they're trying to make it work. And then, oh my goodness, I only have $100 cash flow, which is already bad to start out with, or 200. Like, how do we eke out a couple extra bucks? And then that's the first thing that they probably try to do is, I don't really need flood insurance. I'm fine. Maybe I'll get remove the theft, but maybe I can just keep pick and choose what I want.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. That's a
Yeah.
great point. When and I've been dealing with different clients from beginners to people that are very experienced, people that are in tight cash flow situations
Hmm.
versus people that are doing really well cash flow wise. The people that do really well cash flow wise aren't stressing about those little dollars.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, my job is to get you the best deal without compromising coverages.
Yep.
So that's always what we're going to keep in mind. It's never a bad thing to go, hey, can you do something better for me? What else is out
Yeah.
there in the
Why not?
market? Of course, that makes total sense. Um, but what I find is that that cash flow is a factor. If they're tight on cash flow, they want to penny pinch those coverages, and that's where I kind of push back. That's where you
Hmm.
got to be careful. Whereas people that are cash flowing well on their buildings, they're not worried about. They're like, give me the coverages so I know that I'm going to be good if something happens.
Hmm.
But just again, I'm not. Don't leave any money on the table either, right?
Yeah. That's a great point.
I
Yeah.
think it's an
Try.
absolute huge factor that you'll see.
Along that same vein, what you also see, and maybe this is more a transition then to the when you're trying to buy bigger properties, insurance can become a factor too. When you buy a building, then all of a sudden the insurance shoots up, or well, everything's going to shoot up. But after a building's been known for so long, they probably have a policy in place that's super low, and then they don't underwrite it, and then oh gosh, it's double now. What am I going to do?
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
is a big one. So I appreciate you bringing this up. And now we're talking to our little bit more seasoned investors that are getting to the point where they're getting commercial loans. Maybe they're going through
Hmm.
CMHC and they now have stricter lender requirements on the insurance.
Gotcha.
So what happens is if you buy a single family property, your lawyer's basically going to tell you make sure that there's either guaranteed replacement cost as a clause or
Hmm.
that the building limit is your mortgage amount, one or the other. But once we start to get into these bigger commercial mortgages, now they're requiring that you have stated amount of coinsurance. And I'll go into all these in detail as well
Yeah.
if you've never heard of them. But
Sure.
stated amount of coinsurance, they want to make sure that um, yes, that the mortgage amount is covered on the building limit, but also they're going to take into account like the Altus rating. What's the price per square footage to rebuild this building? We need to make
Hmm.
sure that we have that building limit on there. Um, they're going to require rental income replacement. So
Hmm.
if some and up to 18 months is what we're seeing now. They want to make sure that
Really?
for the next 18
That's
months
Canada for you. Oh
Yeah,
man.
absolutely, man. Well, and that's the thing, right? A rebuild can take a really long time.
Hmm.
You might be out a year and a half without rental income, but you still got those mortgage payments to make.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, with the landlord tenant board right now, for those that aren't Canadian, it's tough to get people out, and if they're not paying, then you got to protect yourself somehow. Yeah, you protect
mhm.
for your couple vacancies, but that's actually smart to actually be able to have the insurance for that. Because I'm assuming that's more so, is that more so with CMHC or is that across the board with the lending requirements for insurance?
Yeah, you're seeing it across the board. CMHC has more stricter terms. So it does depend on the lender.
Hmm.
But you're gonna see that where they're gonna want a lot of these different stipulations and coverages in. And
Hmm.
so what happens is sometimes what will happen is I will have a client that will have a building. Their first lender might be like a B lender or something along these lines, or something not as conventional. And so their requirements on the insurance are less than when they go to refinance. And so a
Mm.
year later, maybe they go to refinance into a CMHC, and now I've got to increase coverages. I've got to add different
Yeah,
coverages
you gotta
on.
jump it up.
Yes, which is again going to affect your cash flow because the insurance premiums are going to go up.
Mm.
So a few factors to take into consideration. Now, actually, I wanted to go back as well on, when you're underwriting a deal.
Yeah,
So this is really
absolutely.
big this is really big for anybody out there that's they're getting to these multifamily buildings, they're underwriting deals, they're making sure that there's going to be enough cash flow to cover the expenses and give them a return.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of times when I see someone using insurance in their underwriting numbers, 90% of the time it's too low.
Really?
90% of the time. 90%.
Listen
Like
up. Holy cap.
very rarely does somebody have like a realistic number there. And usually what happens is what I found is that a lot of times they'll use the current insurance expense. So
Hmm.
like the building owner will be like, here's my expense sheet. These are all my expenses. This is my income. And then you'll see the insurance monthly cost there, and it's like, well, yeah, that's probably too low.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's because they don't have a mortgage on their building. So they can get bare bones
Oh, because it's
coverage,
been paid off long ago, so it doesn't even matter. You don't need that like
the lender
lender
requirements.
requirements.
Yeah, exactly. So what's
Wow.
going to happen now is that like you're going based off their number, but when you go to get a mortgage on the property, they're going to say no, no, the insurance needs these things,
Hmm.
and the premium is going to be higher for that, and it can mess up with your numbers.
So they should reach out to you in the process of underwriting to actually get a potential quote or something along those lines just to gut check what they're doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like the reality is, it's never going to be perfect when you're in underwriting because
Hmm.
we're not getting finalized numbers.
Sure.
There's still some,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
There's
But
an
it's
asterisk right there. Yeah.
Exactly. But like at least I can tell you, I've had people come to me, I'm like, dude, the insurance number, I think you should double it.
You
Like it's
just burst
that
their
far
bubble.
off.
It just
You should probably double it. But like and another thing, and because I have a client that he's been given a lot of opportunities with like heritage buildings.
Ooh, that's a
And
whole
so
different ball game.
it's a whole different game, man. And so the you should also double those insurance premiums because once you go
Mm-hmm.
to a heritage building designation, the insurance company again has to look at it. Well, how much is it going to cost me to rebuild this building if it's a total loss?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about a heritage designation is there's requirements as to how you need to rebuild them, what
Hmm.
materials you need to use, how it needs to look, because they want it to be a certain look,
Yeah, the
right?
exterior needs to be old, even the windows, the facade, everything.
Everything, right? And so now we're not using the same modern materials that we have in new builds.
Hmm.
It might be harder to source certain materials, but you need to get it done if you have a heritage designation.
Mm. I know actually around here there's a place called Amherstburg. I know there they have a lot of heritage designation. It looks beautiful, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
it makes things difficult if you want to actually do one of those buildings. And same with Windsor too, in any place in Canada. But that's a
Yeah.
great caveat. I would have assumed maybe it wasn't necessarily to double, but maybe jump it up a third or two thirds. Like I guess if you stress test it at double, then I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're much safer. You're more likely to actually be able to make the numbers work then, or
A hundred
have the right
percent.
picture. Yeah.
Yeah, like what I've found is that when I talk to successful real estate investors and developers, is they always have buffers in their number.
Hmm.
So it's like, this is what we're going to assume. If the deal works on this, great. And look, we're probably going to get the numbers better than that, which means that's just the cherry on top.
Hmm.
But the numbers need to work at these. And if they don't, then it's probably not a good deal.
Understood. Um, back to um, back to something you said earlier too. You said co-insurance. I don't know if I've heard that term thrown around too often. What is that about? Just for my own personal benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is another big one that all investors and developers need to know. So if you this is a clause on all in commercial insurance policies, all of them. And what it means is that the insurance company will insure the property
Hmm.
to the ratio at which you cover the property. So, for
Okay.
example, if you have $1 million property, it's going to cost us $1 million to rebuild it, and you get $500,000 worth of coverage.
Hmm.
That's 50%. You have 50% coverage to what it should be. The insurance company will also use that ratio for when they pay out a claim.
Okay.
So sometimes people think, okay, so if it's $1 million building, I'll just get $500,000 worth of coverage. And if anything from up to $500,000 happens, I get full coverage. If it's more than that, which is less likely, then I'll just pay that out of pocket. But it
Mm.
doesn't really work that way because it's a ratio. So if you have $100,000 loss and your coinsurance, you get penalized for coinsurance because you only have 50% coverage, they will give you 50% of that payout. So if
50%. Okay.
right, less your deductible. So let's say your deductible is $5,000, and then you only carried 50% of what you should have.
Hmm.
Then you have $100,000 claim. they're going to give you $50,000 less your $5,000 deductible. So they're going to give you 45,000. You're going to be 65 grand out of pocket.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, you got to factor that in then.
You got to factor it in no matter what
Yeah,
size
yeah.
of the claim. Because people think like up to 500,000, right? But it's a ratio of whatever it is.
Mhm.
Now, um, so what you will see is in lender requirements will require what's called stated amount of coinsurance, which waives this coinsurance clause. Um, and so then you'll actually just get that building limit. So something to really pay attention to
Mm.
because it's in the craziest thing here. This is a huge nugget for everybody. It doesn't even cost you anything to get the state amount of coinsurance.
Really?
But if you have a novice broker who doesn't know that or doesn't take that into consideration, and it didn't come from a lender requirement, there's probably so many commercial policies out there without stated amount of coinsurance, and it's not even like it would cost the client anything anyways.
Oh man. So another reason to go to you and your brokerage.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Talk to somebody
Seems we
who's
got all
experienced.
the bases covered. Not seems
Yeah,
like you do
exactly.
actually have them all covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it comes from experience, man.
Yeah. And you've been officially building this brokerage. I know you've been in the insurance game for a while, but you've been building the brokerage now for you mentioned off camera about a year or so. You finally built it to a point. Now it's really booming. Maybe you can tell me a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So it's been a journey for me. I think you know who my brother is, Sam Castillo.
I
I'm not
know of
sure.
him, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
him super personally, but I know through the Wealth Genius and all that jazz.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. So we're all in Wealth Genius. So I started off insurance with him under his agency at the Cooperators. And so being being in an agency, which is a direct line, so you have one insurance company that you work with, is a much different game than being on the brokerage side where you have, over 40 different insurance companies that I work with.
Yeah, you
And
get the pick of
so
everything.
yeah. And so it's as you can imagine, if you're a direct line, you start to like really learn how to do good business with one insurance company. But now I've got to learn over 40 different insurance companies that I'm working with,
Oh
things
boy.
that they require. Everyone's different. There's a lot of similarities, of course, but
hmm
some insurance companies are really big on a few details that they really want to see, whereas some don't care, but they care about other things. So that's been the biggest learning curve for me.
hmm
Uh, but I enjoy it. I think on the brokerage side as well, insurance companies are much more eager to get things done. They're much more eager to make a deal happen, and that's what gets me excited is closing deals and making
hmm
things happen. And so yeah, I've really been enjoying that.
You need to plug the name of your brokerage. I'll put all the details also in
Yes.
the show notes, but
Yeah, so so my insurance brokerage is Castillo Insurance. Now I right now I'm a brokerage partner with Connex. That's my MGA. That's where I get my contracts through.
mhm.
And so I'm in the midst of working on all that marketing because it's now been a year since it's been almost a year since I've been out of co-op. So that's when I was planning on doing the grand opening, grand reveal and all that.
Heck
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be coming out soon, and yeah, that's gonna be our name. Which I struggled to. I wasn't sure if I was gonna go with Castle Insurance or
Ooh,
Castillo because Castle is so Castillo is castle in Spanish.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
want to
and our
anglicize it?
yeah, yeah. We could do castle as well, right? Which I mean really works because you're thinking about protecting your kingdom, right?
Mm,
Like our assets, our real estate, our family, um, our investments. This is your kingdom,
hmm
and what better what like we don't want to just insure real estate properties. We don't want to just insure your life. We want to insure your kingdom and
hmm
make sure that there's a whole encompassing plan to take care of everything in case something goes wrong, but also to be efficient on taxes, on your investment strategy. And so this is about your kingdom as a whole that we're going to protect.
I like that. You're a kingdom builder in more ways than one.
Kingdom builder, that would be the
Yeah.
slogan, eh?
That's interesting. I'm assuming one way you build the kingdom as well, or protect it, is with the life insurance component too. Unless I don't want to switch gears too quickly, maybe there's a couple other things you want to talk about with commercial insurance, or you can maybe talk a little bit the life insurance component.
Yeah. No, let's get into it, man.
Okay, so I guess with life insurance, people always know there's like the term life insurance, and then people always get confused about whole life. Uh, and again, you're going to say it's situation dependent, but what generally are maybe some misconceptions there you can maybe explain, or what works best, especially if trying to protect yourself and your future family, taxes. What
Exactly.
what ones do you like to offer? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah. So, okay. The biggest thing when it comes to what life insurance suits you is totally dependent on where you are in
Yeah.
your
How
situation.
old are you?
Yeah, definitely that's a big factor. Which affects the premium is a big factor for
Right.
that. But it's also like, do you have children? Are
Hmm.
you married? How many assets do you have? What's your cash flow like?
Mm.
What's your tax bill? If something were to happen to you, what would your family have to pay in taxes just to keep your assets?
Hmm.
Because when it's not your primary residence, you've got a capital gains bill when you pass.
Hmm.
And these aren't necessarily things that you want to just pass on to your family without being prepared.
Not at all.
And so this is the big thing with life insurance is let's figure out what your situation is. I will make
Hmm.
some recommendations, and you'll make an educated decision on what's best for you and your family.
Hmm.
Now, the difference between term and whole life is term, simply said, it's an amount of insurance that you will have coverage, amount of coverage that you'll have for a set period of time. That's the term.
Hmm.
Um, with whole life insurance, you have that for the rest of your life, for as long as you live. Um, you have it increases in value,
Hmm.
and it also develops what are called cash values. And this is done because every year the insurance company pays you out a dividend, and
Gotcha.
then this dividend is tax free while it's inside your life insurance policy. Now, the reason why a lot of real estate investors really like the idea of whole life insurance is because of the infinite banking concept.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That's the new buzzword kind of or term going around the past couple of years.
Yes. Everyone loves that, right? And it's very interesting for me because it actually you'll find that people aren't interested in learning about term insurance. They're interested in learning about whole life because they want to build a tax strategy,
Hmm.
which is why I got into life insurance. Like that's what interested me from the beginning.
Oh, no way.
Absolutely. I remember reading the books and all that stuff and then studying was very
Hmm.
difficult for me until I got to that tax part. And then I got all excited.
Like, oh, it makes sense now. I got you.
Yeah, it's very fun to look at that, right? And when we're working on when we're finding out like when we're doing like an estate freeze where your accounting is looking into, okay, well, this is what your tax liability is if something were to happen. These are the moments that get very fun because now we're looking at how to be tax efficient,
Hmm.
how to take care of a tax bill if something were to happen, but also be tax efficient with your corporations and your cash flow dollars and everything.
Hmm.
And so what ends up happening with the infinite banking model is that we can take money out of your corp, have the insurance policy owned by your corporation, and now you can take money out of your corp without triggering a taxable event, put it into your life insurance policy. And because the life
Mm.
insurance company is paying you a dividend on that, it builds up those cash values alongside the fact that you could take cash dollars out of your corporation and it
Hmm.
goes directly into your cash values as well. And now you can take a loan against that as collateral and use that to buy more real estate. You can use it for anything really.
Hmm.
Uh, if you don't want to trigger a taxable event, you could use it for your business or more real estate. And now we're multiplying our money by so many different levels,
And
and then
it's
we can grow.
growing. You're in a way paying yourself. That's at least kind of how I understood it. You're kind of paying into something you can use later.
Yeah, yeah, because and the thing about it too is that it's escaping my mind. There's an individual from Wild Genius that does he's the one he does a lot of the presentations on infinite banking,
Hmm.
and he nails this really well. He explains it really well where when you have uninterrupted growth, it goes so much further and you get to that exponential growth part so much faster. The
Absolutely.
problem, yeah, the problem we have with our assets and our investments is that every step along the way, there's taxes that slow down this growth. And so we can't really get to that part. But when it's inside
Hmm.
of your life insurance policy, it's uninterrupted. There is no tax. There is no moments of tax. So it allows it to grow and take off exponentially.
Right. You're not nickel and diming, or you're not building a value up and then pulling it all away and having to restart from a lesser amount. You're always kind of building off that. And
Absolutely.
to get to that point though, in order to start drawing on that amount, you probably do have to wait a couple of years though to start paying into it to build it up. Or I'm it probably depends on the policy. You could at a certain point it matures and then okay, this is a good time to allow yourself to pull. Um, is that the case, or maybe I have some misconceptions there myself?
No, no, absolutely. So it does depend on the policy, but more so, not so much the policy. It depends on how much contributions you're able to make.
Mm,
So the reality is when we get to these larger premium amounts, we can start to pull in third party banks, third party lending institutions, and they're interested in taking part of it by giving you a loan and using the life insurance as collateral. And in these
mm,
loan situations, now I'll give you like an idea. It's a rough idea. We're talking about like $200,000 annual premium.
okay.
So when you get to a point where you have $200,000 of annual premium that you need to take out of the corp, now we can talk about these types of policies where the bank will lend you a significant percentage of that back after day one if you made an annual contribution.
Right, because it's such a big lump sum. You already have quite a bit in the metaphorical life bank.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But for these smaller policies, it does take time. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
with anything, I guess. But no, that's very cool. I think that's something people need to look into more because I'm for me, I only learned about this a couple of years ago. Is the rough concept of that at least, but I'm assuming you probably have to educate people too who don't even know that's a possibility.
Yeah, and one thing that I can give for every starting investor, because um, one of the biggest things I see is that more common than not, somebody comes to me asking about infinite banking and asking for illustrations when they're not actually ready.
Mm,
When their assets haven't grown enough, when they have when they don't have enough cash flow, they don't really have tax problems, but they want to get into this infinite banking concept. And what I urge them to see is that you are too early to really take advantage of this,
hmm.
but this is where term insurance comes in place.
Keep talking.
Yeah, absolutely. With term insurance, the key here is that you can convert it over to whole life insurance at any time. And your health can change. You can get older. Your life situation could change. You can have way more assets now, to like 10 years down the line, and we can convert that term insurance to permanent insurance, and you don't have to apply for underwriting. You don't have to go through the health checks, nothing like that. Super advantageous
Hmm.
because life health changes as we get older, and you can get it in place when you're young, when it's cheap, and then you have those options down the line. It's like the starter pack for infinite banking.
So that's good to actually note because I'm assuming there's certain age numbers where oh you hit 30 or oh you hit 40, 50. Maybe there's increments where you kind of jump to that next level. Or
For a
is
premium,
that kind
yeah.
of how it works, or is it kind of more steady?
It is steady, but what you'll see is it's like an exponential graph, right? As you get older, each year is a bigger increment.
Hmm.
Then, like the increment from 60 to 61 is much more drastic than the increment from 20 to 21, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So it exponentially takes off, and what people don't really get when they're in their 20s, which now I'm officially out of my 20s. I'm in my 30s now, and
There
so
you go. Hey.
so I've got some experience under my belt now. Um, a lot of times when we're in our 20s, we just don't really think we're ever going to get sick or
Hmm.
health is going to change. And I know plenty of people that are in their 40s that really want to take advantage of life insurance and use the infinite banking model, but they can't get insurance.
Really? Or because they're
Mhm.
just not that they're too old, but maybe are they also not as just not very healthy right now?
Exactly. Because
Okay.
things happen, right? Like
Yeah.
people get diagnosed with things and like think about how much people you might know that were once diagnosed with cancer. Well,
Yeah. It's
once you
like,
have that
yeah.
Yeah, insane, right? Well, once you have that first diagnosis, that changes your ability to get insurance and certainly changes the price it's going to cost you.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the stat is, oh, you probably know the stats better than I do, but 1 in 3 people are going to get some form of cancer one day.
That's right.
So that's fairly high odds.
Yeah,
Some obviously is not as terrible as others, but I could see that once you once you see that on someone's health history, then no, that's a red flag. Like no,
yeah, you can
or
imagine,
or
right?
or you proceed with caution.
Yeah,
Oh man,
or you charge them really really heavily for it, right?
yeah.
Actually, this is something that on the from the insurance side here, where critical illness premiums are skyrocketing because of these statistics on cancer. And critical illness covers you if you get an illness, right? So that
Mhm.
includes cancer. And so that's really something I'm seeing is that the price to get critical illnesses it has increased drastically in the past 5 years.
Is that just because people are nowadays more unhealthy, or are there also, since COVID, maybe things have been happening where a lot more people are getting sick for
Yeah.
various reasons? Like, what's kind of the reason behind that? I heard across the board, at least in the States, insurance is just spiking up everywhere. I don't know if that's related at all either.
Yeah, like that, well, that's exactly it, is that you're highly likely to get some form of illness in today's day and age.
Hmm.
And so that's why it costs so much more because the thing we need to understand is that insurance premiums, the cost for insurance is predicated on statistics. And if we're starting to see an uptick in the amount of cancer cases, then of course you're going to see an increase in the premiums for the coverages for cancer, which is critical illness.
Mm. So then what do you suggest? Because I know you're a big health and fitness guy. What are you doing right now these days to stay young, stay healthy, and keep protect your energy? Because as a business owner and now that you've been doing this so long, I'm sure you've become extremely busy.
Hmm.
What are some things that you're doing right now to keep yourself fit, healthy,
Absolutely.
and mentally strong too?
Yeah, well, I think it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I would argue the majority of my mental health is stable based off of being physically active.
Mm,
That's the biggest factor. There's of course other factors like being grateful and calmness and presence. Perhaps meditation helps you get there, right? But for sure, physical activity is the number one. So this is a big thing. So I'm a big believer in, especially that I'm in insurance, so I will see more cases where people are getting sick or people are passing away
hmm.
because by nature of being in the business, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to see it more often, and so the biggest thing is what I want to promote as I get further and further in my business is I want to promote health.
I
I
love
want
it.
to promote, yeah, it's like I want to promote getting these coverages in place so that your family, your assets, everything's protected. But let's also focus on being more physically fit, more
Mm,
mentally fit, more mentally healthy, and um, and let's not rush the need for these policies to take place to pay out, right? Let's actually focus on being more healthy as well. So yeah, the biggest thing for me is physical fitness, and then also eating healthy.
mm.
Uh, Now I'm not perfect, you know. I definitely have my fair share of cookies and whatnot,
Oh
and so
yeah.
I have a
You're a
sweet
sugar
tooth.
guy, sweet tooth,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I have a sweet tooth. Yeah, yeah.
Same
Um,
here.
yeah. And so, but no, like for me, big thing, especially in the winter right now. So I like to lift weights. That's my favorite thing to do. But I usually pick up the sauna use in the wintertime.
That's
Uh,
huge. Yeah, yeah.
Huge. Yeah, like I don't know if you know many like information on saunas or statistics, but like it's one of the biggest things to fight against like autoimmune diseases.
I've heard there's benefits. I didn't know it was specifically for autoimmune, but I've definitely used in the past because I was experienced seeing some skin issues like eczema, and that is partially autoimmune, I guess, if you want to call it that. But the heat releases all these special proteins and enzymes, and it's fantastic. But I
Mhm.
know that's I don't want to say it's a fad, but there's been cold plunging and hot and sauna. Like you can do both, but I think sauna actually has the highest bang for buck for what you do, as long as it's hot enough, right?
Exactly. Actually, you know, I always I have trouble remembering names sometimes, but there's that one guy. I'm just trying to like look it up real fast.
No,
Uh,
no worries.
where he's like all about anti-aging. Maybe
Oh,
you've
I
seen
think
him.
Brian. I know one guy. He's like a billionaire or millionaire. Brian Johnson. Is that the guy?
Is
Or
that
there's multiple. There's multiple guys. I know that guy at least that I mentioned. He's trying to reverse his age and try to have the age of an 18-year-old. Meanwhile, he's like mid 40s.
right? Yeah, you nailed it. Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I was listening to a podcast with him.
Hmm.
He was a guest, and the question was, what is the be biggest like ROI? Like,
Hmm.
what's the one thing that if this is the only thing you do would present the best ROI? And it was sauna use at the correct temperature because like you do need to get it up to a certain temperature for it
Hmm.
to work
You have to
its
be
wonders.
sweating.
Yeah, you need to be sweating. And so and he said that the biggest ROI, like the biggest improvement in his health indicators came from consistent sauna use.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's interesting that that's the one that that really makes a difference.
This is on that tangent. It's funny, but he was like, you know what? If you do the sauna, and you probably heard this, he's like, but make sure you ice your balls, because otherwise, you're going to reduce. Seriously, you're going to reduce drastically your sperm count and reduce their motility. So if you're trying to conceive or you're thinking, oh, I'm being super healthy, but then you're trying to get your wife pregnant, you're actually it's not working properly. So he was literally saying, as one of his last talks about it, at least that I watched, he's like, bring an
Yeah.
ice pack in there, shove it in your pants.
Really? I never thought
Yeah.
about that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, because
It
if you
makes
go super,
sense.
super hot, like like naturally, like they don't want to stay super hot, so
Yeah.
it can actually be partially damaging. Like you can always reverse it if you just don't do it for a while, but that
Mhm.
was just the craziest caveat that I heard from it that really stuck in my mind.
Well, I wonder, I think he was saying that 20 minutes is a sweet spot.
20 minutes? Okay.
And I can't remember what the temperature was, but there's a certain temperature that you want to be at, and 20
Hmm.
minutes is that sweet spot. Anything more, the health benefits start to reduce, like that
Okay.
ROI starts to go down. Um, so I wonder at what point you really start to damage your
Right.
sperm
Maybe
count.
if you're doing like every single day of the week, maybe, but if you're doing three
Maybe.
times a week, you're not too worried.
Yeah,
But
yeah, maybe.
something to
Eh?
consider. Yeah.
That's
Man,
a good point.
I found great benefits of sauna too, just because in there I could listen to a podcast or you kind of like you said about meditating, it forced you to just focus on your breath so you don't die in there.
Yeah,
Or you can be in there, you can be praying, or you can just do whatever you want, just chill. Or well,
yeah,
not chill, but stay warm.
yeah.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing is sometimes it can be difficult to just sit somewhere and just be in your own thoughts,
Mm, hmm.
especially in today's day and age, we just want to grab our phone and start doing things.
Yeah.
But when you're in a sauna, I mean, some people bring their phone in the sauna. I've noticed that if I start doing that, my phone battery starts to die pretty quick. And so
Right.
I've learned to stop doing that and then just be there in your own thoughts, give yourself that time.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a good thing mentally as well.
Yeah. In this day and age with all the dopamine and quick fixes, a lot of times you do tune out your own thoughts and you can't really work on your subconscious.
Yeah.
And I think I found for myself at least you get a lot of anxiety and you're like, what is going on? But
Mm.
you just haven't assessed yourself because it's like the Greek maxim, know thyself. And there's a
Mm.
reason you need to know what's going on in your own head and how you tick. Because otherwise then you might keep getting triggered by things. You might think you're good, but your cortisol's way up here and you're actually stressing you didn't realize. Or you say, oh, I'm fine, but deep down something's brewing.
100%. Like as humans, we require to exert a certain amount of energy.
Hmm.
And you know, uh I could tell somebody when somebody's like super stressed out, it's like, man, that guy needs to go for a workout. He
Yeah.
needs to exert himself a bit because he's just got too much energy.
Hmm.
Like if you're sitting in your office chair all day and then you come home and just sit on the couch and watch TV or Netflix and then you're just scrolling on your phone, you're not moving, you're just building up this ball of anxiety inside you without realizing it.
Hmm.
Especially with like scrolling, right? Because it's just a constant dopamine hit. So you
Yep.
don't even know that you're brewing up that anxiety in the background, right? You think everything's fine, and then you just snap about things that aren't even like that big a deal.
Hmm.
What I always say is like, let's do an hour workout, hit the sauna, hit the cold plunge, and just see what you actually care about. Because most of the things you're not gonna give a fuck about.
Yeah, it all fades away,
It
basically.
all fades away,
I
man.
have noticed that too. It's like I'm feeling like a little off. You go for a gym for reset, or even if it's just a 10-minute walk. 10-minute
Hmm.
walks after a meal. I know this is more real estate podcast, but this is important. Even 10 minutes after for a walk, huge. Helps your digestion, first of all,
Yeah.
and resetting your blood sugar. But it can just, again, clear the mind, get some fresh air for goodness sake. Even if it
Yeah.
is cold outside, you have to get moving around. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst part about it is the minute beforehand when you're trying to get yourself up off the couch to go do it.
Hmm.
Once you start going, you're fine.
You taking any supplements or anything else to benefit your health? Because I know there's plenty of things you can do to optimize that way too.
Yeah, so well, it's very interesting. There's so many studies that show creatine's like the most like the most important, like one of the most important supplements to take.
Hmm.
So I do take creatine. Actually, so I have a little concoction for my pre-workout.
Oh yeah. Playing mad
So
chemist over here.
yeah, that's what my girlfriend says. She sees me with all my containers and stuff, right? So if you get a basic pre-workout, it will have all the supplements you need, right? So, but what I've done is like I get nerdy about it. I really enjoy it, and
Mhm.
so I started off by Googling what is it in pre-workout that gives you that tingly feeling.
Yeah.
And so I learned that that came from beta alanine, and then you can just buy bulk beta alanine.
Man, you're
So
crazy. I want the opposite. Don't give me that. I don't want the itchiness.
dude, I love it, man. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I honestly like I'm in the office in the morning and sometimes instead of a coffee, I'm doing a pre-workout and my face is just buzzing. I'm just like going off on my keyboard.
300 milligrams of caffeine to boot, just to the dome.
Well, that's the interesting thing. So in my concoction, I don't put any caffeine in it.
Oh, really? Okay. I just assume when you say pre-work, I just assume that's one of the main staples.
And it is, right? It is one of the main staples. If you get one of those pre-workouts, it's going to come with caffeine, right? And
Yeah.
minimum like 150 milligrams. A lot of them have 300, 450, which is
Hmm.
like 4, 5 cups of coffee basically in one shot, right? Um, I enjoy a black coffee. I try to stay away from caffeinated pre-workout
Hmm.
because and perhaps this is as I get older, but I value sleep so much. It's
Hmm.
literally the most important thing to me.
Well, you hit 30, it's all downhill from here. I can't. I'm kidding. But sleep is key for sure.
Sleep is key, man. And so I found that like I'm giving myself the biggest advantage I can to get the most amount of sleep.
Hmm.
And I just found myself at times being awake at night, just laying in bed and you're just like, I don't know why, but I'm not tired at all. And
Mm.
I find that when I do these little things like, no caffeine after 12 o'clock, that's like one of my rules.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not perfect with it. Sometimes I do have a cup of coffee afterwards or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
But for the most part, that's what I stick to, and it helps me not have those moments where you're just laying in bed trying to sleep.
Yeah, that's the worst. And probably I'm
Mhm.
assuming you also try to have this consistent sleep schedule too. Because without that, if you're sporadic, if you're, oh, I'm going to go to bed 10 o'clock and then you're always jumping between 10 and midnight, your body's not going to know what the heck's going on. That's another key one
Yeah.
too. I know it's tougher to do though, especially if you run your own business. You're like, I have to get this done no matter what.
Well, exactly, right? Like, yeah, like, I think
Do the best
last
you
night,
can.
yeah, like last night I didn't leave the office till 10 p.m., you know?
Dang. Nice.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to get a full workout in, but I got a sauna session in
Hmm.
last night. So, but probably didn't fall asleep till like 11:30 midnight. And so it is what it is. I do my best. And I also don't judge myself too hard for it because, the most important thing is what's your intent and your effort. But yeah, so I try to, so my pre-workout stack doesn't necessarily include caffeine.
So what is in it? Because you said beta alanine, and then there's definitely creatine you mentioned. Is there anything
Creatine, yeah.
else?
Yeah. And then I always make sure to have citrulline malate, which
Mm.
is like that gives you that pump, increases blood flow to your veins, which increases blood flow to your muscles.
Do you take it before this interview? Because you're
Oh,
uh,
well, you know what? Actually, this is a funny thing. So, have you heard of the push-up challenge? Right? You know what I
I
mean? I think it's
I
going
don't think
around a lot.
so. I've heard of like the 75 hard or there's things similar to that, but what's the push-up challenge?
So push for better, I guess it's called.
Okay.
So it's like a charity organization where you get a team of people. You'll pick
Hmm.
one charity that you want to support, and then you'll pledge to do 2,000 push-ups in a lot of period of days. I
Mm.
think it's like 3 weeks. And so it gives you a challenge where every day there's a different amount of push-ups you need to do, and eventually it culminates into 2,000 at the end of the challenge. And so so I got into this one group that I'm in right now with some friends late, and so I caught up on my push-ups,
Oh
and then
boy.
I told them that I was going to do extra and posted in the group chat just to rub it in their face.
Yeah, just to shame them a little bit, push them harder too.
So I did my push-ups early today, and then just before the podcast, I'm like, it'd be nice to get another. So I got a quick 50 push-ups in,
All
and
right.
so maybe that's why.
No, that's perfect to do. I know just body weight stuff, even if you can't go to the gym, is huge. Like
Oh,
I need to get a better door frame, but I used to always leave the chin up bar just there. And so as long
yes.
as my rule was, if you walk by it, you have to do five, just
Ooh.
regardless. And so if you walked out, you had to go to like the kitchen or something, or the bathroom, and then you walk back in, and oh, I forgot something. Oh, that's five more.
Oh.
And like, oh no, you got to plan your route.
Yeah. Like before you get in the room, you're just like, wait, did I
Yeah, like
forget anything?
what's left here? Like,
Yeah. I don't want to have to come back out. Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's a great rule to have. I love that.
yeah. I don't do that right now. I'm looking at my door. It's too offset, but yeah,
You just
that's
plan to
great to
get it
do
done.
too.
Yeah, yeah. What I found is so it's taken me a long time to start reading the book Atomic Habits.
Mm.
Probably
Hmm.
heard of it.
I've heard of it. I
Um
haven't fully read it. I got the audiobook. It's
okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But
And you
tell me
get an
about it.
idea.
What are you learning from it, or what's some things you can impart to us?
Yeah, so something that I always lived by was and I think we've actually chatted about this before, a few months ago, where I'm a big believer that a bad workout is better than no workout.
Mm.
And so one of the principles in Atomic Habits is that um, if you can maintaining a habit is based off of being consistent with it.
Hmm.
So if you can maintain 100 days of doing something, um, in that there's a huge factor for that to actually build the habit for you. And what he kind of highlights is that we are not perfect, and so a lot of people end up going, especially with the gym. Let's say that it's really late and they have no time to do an hour-long workout. They'll
Hmm.
say, well, you know what? If I can't do an hour, then I won't do a workout at all. But it's 100% better that if you can't do that hour workout, at least do one push-up. Do one
Hmm.
push-up a day. And so that kind of like falls in line with my principle that a bad workout is better than no workout. I've literally gone to the gym and for a leg day,
Yeah.
did grabbed the bar with no weight on it, did one warm-up squat, re-racked it, and walked out.
Really?
Like just just was
You still kept the
just
promise to yourself, though. That's huge.
still kept the promise.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to do it. And it's so interesting because I literally have that so ingrained in my memory. It was like earlier on in my fitness journey.
Hmm.
And I've never done that since. It was like it only happened once. Um, but just knowing I got my goal done.
Yeah. You whipped
My
your
goal
body
was
into submission. You said, "Hey, mind over matter."
yeah. And although I didn't get a proper workout in or I didn't even do more than one squat, I still got that one squat in.
Hmm.
I really just wasn't feeling it that day. I really didn't want to do it. But I've maintained a consistent habit of physical fitness for 10 years now. And so those are the beginning days.
That is huge. So what I guess drives you, because we're talking a little bit of a mindset. So you've done the physical side, and I guess you partially said the mindset here. You you're you're showing up consistently, but how does one do that? Because you can't take a chunk right away. I'm assuming over time you've built these habits, and then you
Hmm.
stack and you stack and you stack.
Hmm.
And has any of that translated also into business or into real estate investing? How
Yeah.
can someone maybe apply that to their situation if they're trying to grow and they're trying to scale?
Hmm. For me personally, fitness fuels my discipline.
Hmm.
If I can be disciplined in fitness, I can be disciplined in anything. And so this is something that is just a mantra of mine. And so perhaps it removes the anxiety to begin.
Hmm.
Because like again, man, if I can be consistent with fitness, I can do anything. And so um, Yeah, I think that mantra, that mindset is so valuable. Um, I also think that uh, the ability to be grateful for being healthy is such a
Mm,
big thing. Like the ability, because I get it when it comes to real estate investing, it's so easy to be mad that your tenant was late on rent this month. It's
hmm
so easy to be extremely frustrated that there's a repair to be done on one of your properties. It's so easy to be frustrated when a deal doesn't go right in your business.
right.
Um, but when you can go back to basics and remember, like I'm literally breathing right now and I have consciousness, and
You're on
that
this side
literally,
of the dirt. Yeah.
yeah, then it removes that, like what? Like life's not that bad.
hmm
You're still breathing and like me personally, I have 2 feet, I have 2 legs at work. Like it's just I think that that's the biggest thing. Just bring it down to baseline. Somebody's got it worse than you. Someone's always got it worse than you. And my fitness fuels my discipline.
hmm That's well said. I think more people can take heed of that seriously because sometimes it's the most, I don't call fitness basic, but it's sometimes the most basic things and steps you can take, but no one does them, you know? So I'm
Mm.
not saying that I'm perfect or I'm
Mhm.
shaming anyone else that is trying to do these things, but if you just show up, that's the hardest part. So I like what you
Seriously.
said there. Yeah. And the positivity goes a long way. It goes a long way. You just need to protect that positivity though and not have too many
Mm.
negative people in your life either, because that can always drag you down or at least weigh heavy on you, even if you're not turning pessimistic. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
something
actually,
key.
yeah. So I listened to a podcast list recently with Tony Robbins and Alex Harmozy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
Tony Robbins nailed something so important that I think everybody can really pay attention to is that the words you speak have so much power over your conscious mind. And a lot of times we don't even realize what we're saying. We just say them out of habit.
Mm-hmm.
So the example that he used about it was when he was younger, he used to be a part of a group of guys that would get together and play poker. And he noticed that of 3 of the guys, um, one of them loved his wife. He knew it. He could tell the guy thought the world of his wife. Whereas 2 other guys, they weren't in marriages that they were very happy with, and they
Mm-hmm.
would say things, make comments like, "Oh, I got to get back to the old ball and chain," type of thing.
Right.
And without realizing it, he noticed it that at one point, the guy that really loved his wife, out of habit, out of hearing this so many times, said himself, "Well, yeah, it's time for me to head out. I got to get back to the old ball and chain." And him saying that brought his energy into a space of like not totally being in love with his wife, perhaps, or
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of took it down a notch.
it took him down a notch. You could feel
Yeah.
it from the energy. You could see it. And so we really need to pay attention to the words we say because they're like casting spells.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a close friend of mine, Tommy Ooze, that says it all the time. When you speak, it's a spell. You're casting spells. And so and it makes sense. Like if you talk about positive things, all of a sudden your mood changes. If you talk about
Yes.
pessimistic things, you can literally if you're in a group of people and you start to talk about how the world's going to shit, wars in Iran and Israel and all this thing and
Mm.
Epstein Island and pedophiles, you will see everyone's energy start to drop.
Yeah. It can weigh heavy
Uh,
on some people.
it weighs
Definitely.
it weighs heavy on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all humans, right? And so paying attention to what you say is so important. Um, I feel like I kind of got off track of where we
No,
were
that's
going
okay.
for
We were talking a little bit about mindset and things like that and
mindset.
positivity being key. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then that's what led into the negative self-talk and trying to eliminate that completely from your vocabulary. I think
totally.
when people say, "Oh, I can't do this," there's like, no, I will learn how to do X, Y, Z, or I will try my
Mhm.
best to achieve X, Y, Z, as opposed to like, "Oh, woe is me," or "Oh man, I
Absolutely.
could," like, I don't know, being jealous of something like, "Oh, it must be nice to be that guy," something like that. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, the biggest one that and here's the thing, I'm gonna say this, and I think a lot of people listening might roll their eyes, and I
Mhm.
get it because I was like that before too. Um, Whereas you've probably heard before, uh, like some people will say, I've got to get up in the morning for work. I got to go to work tomorrow.
Hmm.
And then you'll hear someone say, well, no, no, you get to go to work. And
Yeah.
it's easy to roll your eyes on that, but it's literally a fact that changing your wording to get changes your mood about that thing.
Hmm.
It's a spell that you're casting because you're feeling good about it because you get to contribute. You get to have a purpose in life. This is what it really means to be a human is to contribute. This is
Hmm.
what we're all ingrained, like we're all wired to do this.
We're built to work
We're
and do
built to work
things. Yeah.
and do things. You're not built to sit around and just consume.
Hmm.
You're built to create things. And obviously part of being human is consumership as well. But there is something beautiful about contributing, and that is truly what brings happiness,
Hmm.
in my opinion, for a
No,
human.
you're absolutely correct because I can actually attest to this. So a couple years back, I just wasn't in a good place because of all the COVID stuff and doom and gloom,
Mm,
partially and just being angry. But another
mhm.
thing that weighed heavy because it was my engineering job. I was like, oh my goodness, this is the worst. I wasn't necessarily bad mouthing people specifically, but just like, this is terrible. But then I had to spin it and be like, you know what? Without this job, I couldn't fuel my real estate ambitions. Without this, I couldn't pay for XYZ. And so I literally did that and said, instead of saying I have to go, I literally said I get to. And I feel grateful that I can achieve and make US dollars. How cool is that? How many people can actually work in the States right now and get their social credit scores and all that stuff over there in bank
Wow.
accounts? No way. This is a blessing. If I didn't have that,
Yes.
it would have been so much harder to start actually investing stateside. But because of my
Yep.
job, it actually helped as a stepping stone. So after that, I definitely noticed a positive improvement. Even I had my manager later on. He was like, "Hey, you're doing better these days, like at your work." I was like, "Because I actually am trying." I guess it was even almost so apparent that they noticed my performance dropping because I just didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
So it definitely, yeah, it worked for me, so it can work for anyone else. You have to be positive.
It absolutely works for all of
Yeah.
us. Because these are things that we will say these words and we interestingly enough don't pay attention to how we feel afterwards.
Hmm.
We just say these words. And a lot of times out of habit, again, if you happen to be around a lot of people that talk that way, that say, I gotta get up in the morning to go to work, gotta go pay bills and this and that, um, it will become a habit for you to just say that, but those words have way more meaning than you think.
Hmm.
And so one of the interesting things about this podcast with Tony Robbins and Alex Hormozy is that Alex Hormozy's take on life was that I'm good at business. I pretty much work the hours that I'm awake, and I serve the purpose to provide these businesses for other people. And so I don't focus on happiness. This is just what it is, um, and I'm okay with that. And
Hmm.
then Tony Robbins pushed back on that and said, um, it basically said, uh, you're saying these words and it's making you feel a certain way that you didn't even anticipate. And then eventually, like throughout the conversation, Alex starts smiling. And he's like, "That's the real you."
Yeah,
You know,
that's fun, Alex, or whatever we're saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You listen to it too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the anabolic Alex.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
That's the key there is that he for so long he was saying all these things that even brought success to him, but it didn't
Hmm.
even bring happiness to him, and he didn't even
Right.
realize it. And so look, you get to contribute, you get to build these businesses, you get to do these things, you get to provide for your children,
Hmm.
uh, provide for your family, give back to your parents, like these are the things that are going to make you happy.
Yeah. It's not chasing shareholder value or chasing dollars because money can come and go, but yeah, it's the relationships and yeah, having a higher purpose to what you're doing is definitely key. It
Hmm.
definitely helps a lot of people. If you're nihilistic or you're atheistic, even I would say it can definitely be a lot tougher to find happiness in certain things. So I really resonate with what you're saying there, Dave. I really do.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's a whole other can of worms, right?
Oh man, that's a that's a whole Second podcast.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. But I'll ask you one last question. What's the biggest lesson you learned in life? And maybe it's okay if you say the positivity thing, but if you had to kind of distill it down, like what's the biggest lesson you learned so far, whether it be in life or in business, that you think is something that people should also hear?
So there's so many different things, of course, right?
Hmm. I'm putting you on
Uh,
the spot. It's tough.
no, no, absolutely. What I usually do in these situations that I get asked a question, I have to think a lot about it. I always go with the first thing I thought of.
Mm.
And perhaps that's my gut talking. And as I get older, I learn more and more to just listen to my gut because I think it's more intelligent than my brain.
It
And
can be.
so I think your gut tells you the truth, what you should do, and your brain logically convinces you or logically creates a decision that might not always work on your favor.
Hmm.
But your gut
Hmm.
doesn't lie to you. So, but yeah, so um, I think so what came to mind first was something I thought about earlier today, is that um, life is not linear. And so what I mean by that is I typically find that a lot of people will say things like, "Oh, if I would have done this 5 years ago, I would have been in such a better place now.
Mm.
If I would have invested in more real estate in 2018, I would be so much richer now. If I would have sold all my properties in 2022, I would have been so rich, much richer now."
Right.
All of these different things, right? But we forget when we tell ourselves these things is that life is not linear.
Hmm.
Let's say that you did sell your properties in 2022, and you got a lot of cash from that, and you're in a much better financial position. But because life is not linear, you might have been, um, you might have ended up being somewhere else on New Year's than you did. Your life would have gone a different course, and you could have ended up going somewhere else for New Year's. And on the way there, you got into a car accident and
Hmm.
you disabled your legs. Like we can't go back in life and say, if I change this one thing, I would be here today, because life doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like another thing is that like maybe you would have had a lot more money, and then maybe you would have been more of a dick, and you would have not
Very
attribute
possible. Yeah.
it's very possible, right? Like, and then other things would have gone wrong for you. So, life is not linear, and so it's a complete waste of time to ever think, well,
Yes.
I should have done this or I should have done that,
Hmm.
because you don't know where that would have taken you in life. All you know is that you're here right now, present, and presence is the most important thing. Thinking in the past is going to cause depression, and thinking in the future is going to cause anxiety. And so we need to be more present. Um, and just any second you spend thinking about, oh, I should have done this or that differently is a complete waste of your time.
I love it. Dave, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. Presence is everything, and you had great presence here tonight. Thanks for giving all those nuggets too and explaining all the details about insurance, your mindset, and with your fitness as well, and how that all works cohesively together. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for having me on, Tom.
All
Appreciate it, man.
right. Thanks again.
Cheers. Cheers, brother.